welcome to this live episode of Uncultured. My name is Spencer Walsh. Welcome to our premiere today. We are live on this New Music Friday. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Really, really appreciate it. We got some great stuff to get into for you today. On the show, new music from Rick Ross, Trippie Redd, and Blueface, Port of Miami, Dirtbag, and of course, exclamation mark. I guess that's what you can, how we're speaking of it. I think there's no other way to speak of it, really. But anyway, great show for you today. Also talking about, got some new music mix for you. We'll mix up the new music into, play all the most notable songs you need to hear, to introduce some new segments for you, and talk about the latest in hip-hop news. Oh yeah, my name is Spencer Walsh. Obviously, hopefully you're joining us because you're a fan of hip-hop, but of course you probably do know about some of the other shows that we have on our radar, including, of course, Newsflash, The Wake Up, and now Uncultured with us today. All right, so yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And we got to start with the new music. The new music is out, folks. To get some XXL freshmen and two XXL freshmen releasing, two newbies, two Lils, I guess you could say, even though neither of them have Lils in their name. They're pretty much honorary Lils, let's just say that. The young Lils, as Joe Budden would call them. Anyway, yeah, we have two of those guys, and we have the absolute boss, Mr. Maybach Music himself, Rick Ross. And you know what I have to play?
What is this? Maybach music.
I like this
Maybach music.
Sweet.
Yeah, so he is out. The boss of Miami himself, Rick Ross, out with Port of Miami 2 today. Also an incredible, incredible showing. Yeah, and the sequel to his debut album finds the Boss reunited with Drake, Red Shotgun, and Gold Roses. The Southern Veterans' 10th studio album was also supported by singles from Big Time and Swiss Beats, with Swiss Beats and the Wale-assisted Act a Fool. Ross is also expected to appear again in the forthcoming Coming to America 2 film, which is going to appear in major cities such as New York, LA, Houston, and Toronto, and more for his Port of Miami 2 tour. So yeah, Port of Miami was his first album. Now this is Port of Miami 2 is going to be his 10th studio album. And I mean, personally, I am a big fan of Rick Ross. I probably have enjoyed more Rick Ross than I have enjoyed anyone else who released new music this day today, because probably he's released more good songs. I mean, because I really like, my favorite thing about Rick Ross is I don't like when he tries to get all, I think he's much less likely to be successful when he gets into his kind of like his phase of, because every rapper kind of has their phases, but I like when he's his boss, that's when he's at his best, when he's at his like most exuberant, most confident self, his most boss self, I guess you could say. But like he's not very good when he tries to like get all like methodical, thoughtful. Like I think all good songs, and you're probably going to hear me say this a lot on the show, like all good songs, when you think of them, when you hear them, like an image, I think, comes to your head. For most of the good songs, an image comes to your head of someone doing something. Like it happens. Like you think of, like the song makes you think of someone, maybe it's yourself or someone else, just doing something that you think is going to be like incredibly like fun or sad or like thoughtful. Like, yeah. And I mean, that's not always the case. Some songs can be good without having you like making you immediately like think of something like that, but not always. It's not always the case, because I mean, there are rare exceptions, but it certainly helps to have that. Yeah, and I mean, there definitely are some good ones in here, that's for sure. Probably that we're gonna play in the mix pretty soon. We're gonna play Nobody's Favorite, that's for sure. That's a pretty solid one that we got there. I think that's kind of from. I have tried to get through some of the album. Thing is, if you listen to the Wake Up this morning, we just came off doing the Wake Up, so I have, and I like literally just got up before that, so I have not devoted too much time to listening. I didn't like stay up for any of these albums in particular. So I didn't get through all of them, but I did listen to a majority of most of them. So I'll give you the best I can, kind of the rundown on them here. And of course, we start out with Act a Fool. That was, I mean, again, I think both of these major albums, I don't know if Blueface is even a full album, but both Trippie Redd and Rick Ross, they both have, I think, in my opinion, kind of fallen victim to the fact that they haven't really gone. I think they released too much of their best heat too early. You know, like with the singles, I think that rappers can often like fall victim to that. Like and just artists in general, really, if they put too much effort and too much, like, they just don't have any gas left in the tank when it comes to actually release the album. And I mean, I'm not saying there isn't any gas in this Rick Ross, because there definitely is. Bringing your attention to Bogus Charms, Rich, the word I can't say, Lifestyle, and of course, Running the Streets. Like, those I think were probably the three. Also, White Lines was pretty good. I also want to bring your attention to that. Nobody's Favorite is probably my favorite song I've heard, at least from this album, that hasn't been released. I mean, personally though, I know I did just say that nobody likes the kind of thoughtful Rick Ross. I don't like the thoughtful Rick Ross, but he, with the assist of Drake and with the assist of good production, absolutely nailed that in Gold Roses. I think we're gonna definitely play at least some of that in our mix coming up at the top of the hour here at 1:00. So if you're listening live, stay tuned for that. But yeah, like that's going to be coming your way then. But the thing is, he literally, he did do some of that really successfully. And I think that's a step that he's taking when he gets older, when he gets more closer to the kind of the respectable status, like some of the top. He's definitely the top echelon, right up there with kind of like the Jay-Z's, and some of the more respectable kind of like rap titans, like the Dre's. And the song that I think like really exemplified that was his song Three Kings from, I think, a few years ago. That I really did like. That was I think that was just one kind of a massive flex. But yeah, Port of Miami, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting to make the case to how it compares to Rather You Than Me. I mean, if I had to like to give it, the way I kind of like think about ranking albums is like, out of your total output, like how was it, and give kind of like a score out of like a rate ranking, like percent quality, I guess you could say. So there's 15 songs in Port of Miami 2, 14 songs in Rather You Than Me, if you just want to compare them. And we could say here, so I'm going to say Act a Fool would make it. Nobody's Favorite, Turnpike Ike, those are the first three songs. I think two of those definitely make it. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm in White Lines. Big Time. I think Big Time makes it as well. Running the Streets, Gold Roses. So that's Gold Roses is 1. I never liked his. This may be a little like kind of a controversial thing to say, but I never really liked his Maybach Music. Like, he's had a Maybach Music song. If you're not a Rick Ross guy, like if you're a Rick Ross person, you would know that he's had a Maybach Music song on almost every single one of his albums. He didn't have one on Black Market. Interestingly enough, did he have one? Well, a lot of them he's had them. He's had on all of them. He's had Mafia Music. I'm just looking back through his body of work. Like, there's some good stuff in here. I'm getting carried away with my love of Rick Ross. Like, I mean, you got what do you got here? Moving Bass. Like, this stuff is so underrated. Devil's a Lie. Everyone knows that one. Sanctified. Walking on Air. I mean, Three Kings. I mentioned that one. We got the Maybach Music 4. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff. And Teflon Don. Oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, I'm seriously thinking about kind of ranking this. So let's go through this. Act a Fool is 1. Let's see. Nobody's Favorites 2. White Lines and Big Time 3 and 4. Rich and you know what? I'm gonna say Rich and Weird Lifestyle is 5. So it's 5 there. We have, and then, you know what? 6 and 7, Running the Streets and Gold Roses. So, yeah, that's 7 out of 15. And, I mean, I would have to, like, this is all obviously subject to change. It's like, that's a 46. It's a 46. It's not bad. And if I were to go back to Rather You Than Me, Apple in My Eye, Idols Become, Trap, Dead Presidents, She on My Dick, I Think She Like Me, like those 3 right there, the 5 through 7 on that album are probably the best. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, 3 to 14, what's it? No, it's 5 out of 14, sorry. Yeah. No, 4 out of 14, sorry. Yeah, that's 4 out of 14 and 7 out of 15. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, Port of Miami 2 wins out, I think, if you compare it to it. But, again, I think we can have, like, fond memories. But, yeah, some of the songs, I think the guest list for Rick Ross compares very well to his body of work, which is something that you don't always see for artists. Because it's good to say it. Like that, what that means is you get back to the people who are coming up, you spread some verses, you get a good relationship with the hip-hop community, which Rick Ross certainly definitely has, which will allow him to come into such good success. Except if you're 50 Cent, then maybe not. But anyway, yeah, Rick Ross is one, but let's move on to our two young Lils, I guess, as Joe Budden would say. The young Lils, as Joe Budden would say. Before introducing his fans to the collaborative project with Playboi Carti, Trippie Redd dropped his sophomore album titled ! I guess is how you say it. The project features production from Wheezy and more, as well as guest appearances from Carti, Lil Baby, The Game, and his girlfriend, Coi Leray. She's a weird voice. I've never heard anyone. I thought that was a guy. I thought that was it sounded like it was like a 12-year-old on that track when I just listened to it before we came on the air. But it felt like there was like a 12-year-old on that track. I was like, what? That's a little weird. But anyway, yeah. So the singles Under Enemy Arms, Mac 10, and ! Also appear on the XXL Freshman's 14-track LP. So it's an LP. And we have, not long after, by the way, claiming to take on his fair share of Tatiana's, Blueface drops his official project of 2019, Dirtbag. 2019 new Cash Money Records sponsored EP follows release of singles like the Offset feature Bust Down, Daddy, Bleed It, and Stop Capping, which personally, in my opinion, those were the there's no gas in the tank for anything else in Dirtbag. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. Yeah, so we are about a few we're just a few minutes away from our new Music Friday mix coming your way. And I also do want to say that Lil Tecca, I believe, does he have a full new album out right now? No. No, just a single, I think, today. Obviously, he was I guess you could say he had the kind of the first, he did it again, Bossa Nova. Yeah, I think Ransom's the only one who's really been able to get through on with anything. But yeah, so that's, I heard one of our correspondents one of my friends said he released something today, Brandon Litwin. He's going to be on the show soon, I think, for sure. Brandon Litwin will be. But anyway, those are your 3 new albums: Blueface, Rick Ross, Trippie Redd, in this Friday, New Music Friday. And personally, I mean, I certainly think I don't want to cast any aspersions on some Blueface's music, because there's good music in that album for sure. There's some real bangers on that album, but as a more cohesive work, I don't want to put the edge over on Trippie Redd. I want to put, you know what, I give the slightest of edges, this absolute slightest of edges to Trippie Redd over this one on Rick Ross. Not to say he did not have an excellent album. They both did. But